What's up, family? This is Juan J. Johnson coming at you with a midday real talk commentary. You can reach me at juanjohn29 at gmail.com. That's juanjohn29 at gmail.com. Or you can reach me or you can send any donation to gofundme.com/real-talk-tji-fun. Let me get straight to business. Don't have a lot of time. It's a couple of issues I want to deal with. Number one, I'm going to deal with this whole Trump piece. Trump is taking a hit right now in the media for basically paying homage and paying respect to Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was he was the seventh president of these United States. And Trump had made the comment basically that, that the Civil War could have been avoided had Andrew Jackson, I guess, knew what he was doing. But I want to look at this whole conversation from a different approach. I posted on my page, I said this: the system of white dominant culture is so upset with Trump that the system is turning on itself. Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington were cut from the same slave master's cloth. The history of the presidents that were never shared in school is now front page reading for the world to view. Let me say this again. The system of white domination is turning on itself. And I keep trying to convince my brothers and sisters that are American Africans or who go by African Americans that we don't have no dog in this fight. This is a ideological war between white liberals, white conservatives, and they all are mad at each other to the point where in their dislike for Trump, in their disgust for Trump, they would actually go to the archives and dig up information about their slave masters. Thomas Jefferson was a slave holder of at least 100 slaves. George Washington was a slave holder and a slave hunter, just like Andrew Jackson. But because Trump made comments that was factually inaccurate, because Andrew Jackson died 16 years later, before the Civil War, they were willing to put on the front page of the Washington Post that's read throughout the entire world. We're not talking about the Gazette. We're not talking about the Washington Examiner. We're not talking about some local newspaper. We're talking about the Washington Post, today's edition, wrote a story that says, "Hunting Down Runaway Slaves, the Cruel Ads of Andrew Jackson and the Master Class." That's the title of the story in the Washington Post. Hunting Down Runaway Slaves, the cruel ads, the ads. They listed 3 or 4 ads in the article of describing the slaves by name, okay? Their description in color, their clothing, and he even said, "I'll give you $40 to $50 to the person who returns back my slave." Oh my God. Family, I'm going to tell you once, I'm going to tell you twice, until it sinks into your head. This is a ideological war between liberals and conservatives, white, European descent, liberals and conservatives. All this 45, all this, they hate Donald Trump. This has nothing to do with black folks. Nothing. Like the Civil War, it was about slavery. This right now is about who's going to take this country the next 100 years. Where we're going 100 years from now. So I'm saying right now, again, the Washington Post is the most read paper outside the New York Times or the LA Times. Those are not just national brands. Those are worldwide brands. And the Washington Post has posted hunting down runaway slaves. You didn't receive that information in grade school, in high school, and not even in college. The Washington Post is publishing right now. Go look it up right now. Today's edition talks about Andrew Jackson hunting down slaves. It mentioned George Washington. It mentioned Thomas Jefferson. These are all these men who are on the currency that we right now use. Andrew Jackson is on the $20 bill. Think about that. George Washington is on the $1 bill. Okay? They knew these guys' history from day one. But guess what? They did not get rid of those coins, those dollar bills, did they? So, again, you must understand that the system of white male domination is fighting itself. It's turning on itself. And we have a front row seat to the fight that's going on. Family, you have nothing to do with this fight. The time for the black community or the African American community or the American African community, whatever one you subscribe to, it's time for us to start to practice group economics. We have got to come together because the way this thing is going, we already know that this European practices a scorched earth philosophy. If you don't agree with them, they'll wipe you out. Trust me, there is a civil war brewing between liberals and conservatives. It's going to go from ideology to blood. And they're going to ask the African American, black American African community to pick a side. Just like in the Civil War, we had to pick a side. Are you with the Union or are you with the Confederate? Are you with the Northern whites right now or the Southern whites? I mean, again, I just want you to step away from all this 45 craziness. Yes, he's crazy. I'm going to give Donald Trump, he's crazy. But Donald Trump is as American as apple pie is. Okay? So I want to deal with that story. That's number one. Because, again, we don't have no dog in this fight. The dog that we have in this fight is this. Come together, strategize, self-preservation. 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 That's our dog in this fight. We can watch these white folks go crazy all we want to. Let them fight. But at the end of the day, you're not going to see too many times that the Washington Post will run a story about the founding fathers as slave owners. So all those who were unaware of the behavior, of the character of the founding fathers, since the Black African American Museum won't mention it in Washington, D.C., the Washington Post has gave us an article that you didn't even see when you was in high school or grade school, that your founding fathers were slave owners. Although we always knew that, but to see the Washington Post say it, it really does me some justice. Trust me. My second story for today. There's a hearing scheduled. Michael Slater, the officer who killed Walter Scott, could take a plea deal in the murder trial. Officer Slater, who killed Michael Scott 2 years ago in South Carolina, is looking at taking the plea. I don't hear your radio stations or television stations saying nothing about that. Family, let me make a confession to you. Juan J. Johnson does not watch television. I don't watch television. I read articles, I scour the internet, but I rarely watch television. So I don't get my news from that programming device that you guys watch every day. If you're watching ABC, NBC, CBS, all the alphabets, and that would include MSNBC, CNN, you are being programmed. The only reason why I can talk like I talk and think like I think, because I'm not being programmed. I have consciously unplugged myself from the matrix. And I think as a free man, not as a assimilated slave. And I mean that. Again, Walter Scott is looking at Michael Slater is looking at taking a plea bargain for killing Walter Scott, for shooting Walter Scott in the back. He's going to take that plea. You know why? Because he's facing a lot of time in jail. If he can take a plea and get out in 10 years, he's going to take it. That's story number 2. We have another story today. The killing of the 15-year-old Jordan Edwards. You don't see this on the story. I haven't seen it on the news. Well, I don't watch it, so I'm assuming it's not on there. But here it is. Say his name. Jordan Edwards, another unarmed black teenager, was killed by the police, and the media is silent again. Black lives don't matter in a white male-dominated society. Jordan Edwards was in a car full of friends at a party, okay? And he was shot in the head with a shotgun by a race soldier. They have not relinquished what color the officer is, not that it matters, because we're just being hunted and killed. But he was unarmed, shot with a shotgun. 15-year-olds. Let me read this. As the family and friends mourn the death of a 15-year-old boy shot in the head by a police officer in Dallas suburbs over the weekend, the police chief said Monday that new evidence showed the killing did not unfold the way the authorities had originally claimed. Meaning he lied. The officer on the scene lied about how he killed that young 15-year-old unarmed boy, black boy. Again, we're being hunted, we're being killed. And again, we have to have these type of venues where we can discuss our issues, our concerns, okay? Another story that's not getting no traction, but I'm going to bring it up. The man that shot 7 blacks in San Diego. 7. And he was killed. He was shot to death. And they're not considering that a hate crime. How do you kill 7 unarmed black children and you white and it's not considered a hate crime? 7. Although the police killed him, they are saying that this is not a hate crime. Family, listen to me. You need to know when we're being played, when we're being had, when we're being taken advantage of. Here it is. His name is, what's this man's name? Well, here it is. White terrorists shoot 7 American Africans at a pool, and the media propaganda machine is silent. Had this been a black person shooting 7 Caucasians, the coverage would be nonstop. Think about that. How you kill 7? How you shoot 7 black? How you kill 7 black kids, and the media don't say nothing? Let me read this. Some things never change. 2017 B1, nearly 54 years after Dr. King's "I Have a Dream," we have this. We have, hold up. This is Sean King's article. I'm gonna read his whole article. I just want to deal with this brother just killing 7 black people, just killing 7 black kids. And again, let me just say this: the silence is definitely in our community. We are waiting for this country to say something about our people, and they're not. If we don't say something, they're not going to say something. If we don't complain, they're going to think it's all right. Why Why is not the shooting of 7 black children